Happy Day of the Dead. That's today. Of course, we had Samhain or Halloween last night. I hope you all had a safe holiday, a fun holiday. Um, we did Boo at the Zoo earlier this week, Evan and my middle son Spencer, and then we went trick or treating in Island Home last night. And it was kind of nice to actually have fall weather, right? We've had quite a temperature shift over this week. I'm enjoying the crispness in the air. I have a wood stove at home, so I've been keeping the house nice and toasty. So it definitely feels like everything is finally feeling like fall. It's just like, what's fall ever gonna hit, right? So I hope you guys are enjoying that. So we made it. We made it through two eclipses, in October, right? Wondering how you all are feeling, how you're doing now that we are on the other side of those eclipses. I know for me, I have been working for the last couple weeks, seriously working on getting my house in order. Meaning I have been clearing out, donating, getting stuff ready to donate to thrift stores. I literally rented a dumpster and threw out a bunch of stuff that was not donatable. I've been putting stuff on Facebook Marketplace. I've been giving stuff away. My house is not huge, but I do have like a basement, and as I like to garden and I have like other hobbies, I like to recycle things. I had really collected a lot of things that I thought that I could repurpose and use like for gardening or home improvement, and it just kind of got to the point to where I had too much stuff that I had not done anything with. Some stuff just had to be tossed. But then some stuff, like I said, I've tried to find new homes for it. So it feels really good to have breathing room, to have space. So, hey, Spence, I see Spence, one of my kids, is on Instagram watching me live. I don't know if you all have been feeling that kind of what I've been going through as far as wanting to kind of get stuff like cleared out, give yourself a little bit of breathing room, eliminate clutter, de-stash, your life. I will maybe talk a little bit about the season that we are going into. As you know, we're in the Northern Hemisphere. If you're watching, you're local to Tennessee, to Knoxville. Of course, I'm going to be putting this on YouTube, so people could be anywhere, right? But whereas, we're in the Northern Hemisphere, we're definitely going into late fall, getting ready for winter right now. And this time of, we just had Halloween or Samhain, and then the next solar holiday that we will have will be the winter solstice, which will be kind of 3/4 of the way through December. It's usually around the 21st, 22nd of December, and the winter solstice will be the longest night of the year. So since we've already had the fall equinox, which was in September, every night that we have from then through now until winter solstice, the nights will slowly and slowly start getting longer and longer, and of course our days will be shorter. So that of course does affect temperature as well. That affects our ability to receive sunlight, process vitamin D. People can be sensitive to the more lack of natural light and have seasonal affective disorder that kind of, starts to hit as winter gets closer. But despite those kinds of things, to me, winter, even though it may be cold outside or it may be, shorter days and all of that, there is or can be kind of a coziness to that when you think of being indoors, of course, some people get cabin fever, right? When you're having to be indoors more or just don't have the freedom to kind of come and go and, due to weather or road conditions or, whatever it is. But this time of year that we're moving into is really does call to the animal side of us where we do want to be more um, secluded, sequestered, going into hibernation, right? We as humans don't actually hibernate, but as we see the animals outside that are kind of gathering those last bits of food and, trying to kind of build their winter reserves or stores, whether they're going to know that they are going to need to have food to access or they're trying to get fat and happy so that if they are going to be sleeping a lot, their body will actually have something to live off of and to sustain themselves off of. We too, though not hibernators, are preparing for that. We feel that. We see that in nature. We are feeling that within ourselves. And, I do talk a lot, especially as we're kind of getting into this time of year. I do talk a lot about how polarized or how stretched very thin we can feel going into this season where we're wanting to be more introspective, we're wanting to be more still, more quiet. We're really not um, ancestrally speaking, stuff that's stored in our DNA that tells us of how generations past have kind of dealt with this time of year. We're not really wanting to just be out like gallivanting, seeing the world typically this time of year. And yet, there are all these things to do. There are all these places to go and people to see and presents to buy and parties to go to and all this stuff, which is a very projective, a very expansive, a very extroverted way of being. And I'm not saying that we don't enjoy time with our friends or family or buying gifts for people that we love and all of that kind of stuff, but that very busy energy and very extroverted energy is opposite of what we feel called to really do this time of year. And so it's my understanding and theory that the reason that so many people struggle with the holidays or with winter is because if they are doing things that feel opposite, that are going against really what they're really feel internally like they need to be doing, which is, just kind of hanging out and just being more still, more quiet, and yet they're having to do all these things. And that's why people are prone to not only being stressed out over the holidays, but depression and all of those things. And of course, we know like sometimes the holidays are very hard for people because of either negative associations they have with the holidays instead of like happy memories. They might have kind of family patterns or trauma that come up over memories of the holidays. Of course, it could be just like feeling like you have to be around people or see people that you don't see a lot or that you would rather not see, but then you have that kind of sense of obligation or something like that because of the holidays, right? And then, as you all know, the economy is just nuts right now. We have so much inflation and, things are in the grocery store, what you're buying costs more than it used to cost, but you're getting less of that thing. So those supplies, that food, that laundry detergent, whatever it is, isn't lasting you as long. And yet our wages and everything haven't really gone up enough to meet the demands of what we have to spend. And so I know that is also causing stress and worry in your personal life. But then as we're all connected and we all feel each other's energy, whether it's just kind of picking up on the vibe of the people around you, but then also as we're all part of the collective, we all feel the waves of all these energies going through. And so it can become very overwhelming and scary and, all of those things. So And then of course, despite not even thinking about like the holidays or those types of things, we do have a lot of conflict going on our planet, and we all feel that. It's you don't have to watch the news or read articles or see pictures to feel and know that there are things going on that feel very heavy and that feel very sad and that can feel very scary. And so there are all these things that we're going through together, and then we understand them or translate those things in different ways, um, through different lenses, through different filters, but we're still feeling it. So what I would love to encourage, and if any of you, all of you, to do as we're kind of leading into this last part of fall and leading into winter, is to really give yourself that space and the buffer that you need, that you really need as who you are as this human, but then this combination of this animal self that's very primal and connected to the earth, to the planet, and then your soul self as well. It merges, those two parts really merge into the human that you are. And pay attention to how you're really feeling. Pay attention to what you're really feeling called to do with your time or not do. If you're being called for more stillness, for more introspection, things like that. And it doesn't mean that you have to just stay indoors until spring is here, right? I'm not saying that. And of course, there are lots of wonderful things that you can do outdoors or with other people that are perfect winter activities or cooler weather activities, right? But if you are feeling like you're being asked to be extroverted or expected to be extroverted, and yet you just want to get in some cozy clothes and just kind of be still and just kind of be quiet, that's really a very, very natural way to feel and to be this time of year. And then, before we know it, spring will be around the corner and we will start feeling ourselves kind of waking up and getting ready to kind of emerge or re-emerge, right? And we do this, we are beings that do feel the cycles and the seasons. And when we think that we're above that, or we think that we are separate from that, we can definitely feel that we are out of alignment with all of the parts of us. And I think that that's really where a lot of the negative things that can kind of present themselves through winter, that can really become vastly exaggerated if we aren't truly really listening to what we need and what we feel is right. And the the people, many hundreds of years ago, would not always just hole up and not see anybody until spring, right? But whereas we didn't, more, I don't want to say ancient humans, but humans that, we had a less developed kind of society. We might live in a village, or we might live really far away from people, and just the logistics, just the ability to travel would have just been almost impossible or very dangerous, right? If the weather was bad, and we needed to conserve our energy, our resources, all of that, to make sure that we made it through the winter, right? But obviously, like different pagan holidays, like the winter solstice, like Yuletide, was a time to kind of check in with everyone and to say, hey, we've made it this far, and we might come together and kind of share the food, and kind of just have a time of celebration. And of course, it was welcoming back the light. It was calling back the light, because like I said, the winter solstice is the longest night of the year. And so people would light a candle or have a fire, and it's just like urging and beckoning the sun, please come back, you've been gone for so long. But we know after the solstice, then the days start getting a little bit longer and the nights start getting a little shorter all the way up to the spring equinox. And, then we have the summer solstice, which is the longest day of the year, the shortest night. So we've lived these cycles our entire life. Our generations back, our ancestors have witnessed and experienced these cycles as well. So I feel that the biggest thing that I want to remind you of is to just really honor what feels right to you, and to listen to those almost kind of quiet urgings of what your soul, but the memories that you have in your DNA, like what that's telling you, the wisdom that is telling you to do, also as we are in this part of the cycle. So, does anyone have any commentary or any questions about that? I will give you a little space and time to respond to that, or to comment or ask questions about that. I mean, I think it's pretty self-explanatory, but um, and I love the holidays. I love getting together and all the food and celebration and all of that is associated with kind of I love Halloween and Thanksgiving and Christmas and New Year's and all of that. But I don't just become a total hermit, but it's definitely, uh, especially as I have become more energetically sensitive and more kind of tuned into not only what's going on around me, in the world, but then also just really what I need and what I want. I'm much more appreciative of that this time for introspection, because it's when you are more still, when you are more quiet, when things are just not so go, 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 that not only gives you time to think about, if we just kind of use the year or the cycle as almost just like an example or an analogy, it gives us a time to kind of review. It gives us a time for gratitude, for being thankful for all of our experiences in the more active, warm, extroverted energies of spring, summer, early fall. And it's also a time for us to remember all of that, kind of take stock and inventory, and then be in a place of not only appreciation, but knowing that we can endure a time where maybe things aren't so bountiful, or they're not so um there's maybe not like excess, right? Like if we're talking about like harvest and people who were more based on an agricultural type setting, that you're not growing food this time of year. You might be gathering some last harvest. There might be things that do kind of thrive in colder temperatures, but once it starts freezing, then that's pretty much it. So whatever you haven't harvested or you haven't preserved, that's done. And then you have to wait until the spring to really start doing that again. So the winter time is kind of a time of rationing a little bit. It is, making do and making use of what you have been able to save and preserve to get you through, to get you all the way through winter. And then when we are not just literally talking about like our food or our supplies, which are essential things that we really need. And of course, as modern humans, we're like, well, we'll just run to the store, or I'll just order DoorDash, or, whatever it is. But when you really think of, what if there weren't those things? Or what if there was a really bad storm and, you couldn't get out or whatever? You still need to eat, you still need to sustain your body, right? So, be smart. Be smart about that. Don't just rely completely on modern life or modern technology for how you feed yourself and sustain yourself. But then when we talk about things, not just literal harvest and eating and things like that, we think about our experiences, what lessons we've learned, And we kind of ruminate on it. We kind of sit with it. We have the stillness and we have the time to sit with that during the winter without so much work to do or so much, so many activities to be so busy with, right? And so as we get into these darker times, the colder, more still times of late fall, and of course moving into winter, there are certain activities that we tend to always do that time of year that are of kind of hearth and home, and you might find comfort in that. Kind of preparing, kind of getting ready to do those things. Like I always all of a sudden want to start like knitting and crocheting and like baking a bunch of bread and all of those things. And I love doing those things, anytime, but I don't even think about knitting at all until it starts getting cold. And then it's like too late. I'm like, oh, I didn't set it aside enough time to do, make presents for people if I wanted to knit a bunch of scarves or whatever. But that's for me, it's like coziness, and so I really just start feeling that this time of year. So yeah, Angela says, yes, this is exactly what you're feeling. I mean, I know it's like, um, we all are so similar, and we all have our unique qualities and interests and family traditions or social circles or jobs or all of these things that, do make up who we are. But we are so similar too, and this goes back to our natural state of being, our more simple human self that really just falls into these rhythms. That's why these rhythms, the pagan wheel of the year and honoring the cycles and the seasons of not only the sun but the moon and all of these things, that's why they resonate with us so much, because it's just part of us. We are part of that. And generations and generations and generations back have been in that same cycle, and in those same energies. And it is so deeply ingrained in us. And so I know as people, whether they kind of, start their spiritual journey or they get back on track or really start working with natural energies and magic and things like that, I think that that's why it calls to people so much, and it's more of a homecoming for them than it is just like all this just like strange novel information, is because there is such a part of them that knows this. It's something you already know. It's something that is already ingrained in you, and you are returning to that energy, which feels so welcoming, right? It feels so welcoming, and it makes so much sense even if you can't put words to it. So please listen and honor that, for yourself, because um, exhaustion and stress and depression and physical illness and all of that, so much of that can just stem from going against the flow of those cycles. Go against the flow when you're like standing up, you're an activist and you're standing up against things that are wrong, like go against the flow with that, right? When you need to be the black sheep that's like speaking out or whatever it is. But when it comes to the natural rhythms that we are part of, we are not separate from. Like when you flow with that and you become part of the flow, or you accept that, you realize that, then it's just so beautiful, to be in that energy instead of fighting it and going against it. And I know some of you may work, I don't know, like retail or food service, or some kind of industry that's maybe very busy, coming up, like you're gearing up toward, for the holiday shopping season, whatever that is. And it can just feel like this, crazy, wild, busy, busy, busy energy, right? And sometimes I guess, if that's like the industry that you work in, it feels just like a necessary thing. It's like how you make your money, how you pay your bills. So do what you can, though, when you're not at work, when you're at home, when you're off, whatever it is, to give yourself a chance for that stillness, for that silence, to recharge your batteries. And like we always need to do that. I mean, it's not just like in the winter we're introspective and in the summer we're, just always going and extroverted. We can obviously, have many fluctuations within wherever we are, seasonally speaking, or cyclical speaking. But um, I really see that winter is just such a challenging time for so many people. And it's almost like you go, you push, you get through, and then you are absolutely drained and absolutely stressed out and exhausted because you've just had to push through until you got on the other side of that. Which I know certain situations call us to do that. We're phenomenal beings. We can really um, we have so much fortitude just to be able to survive and get through and try to make the most of things or to push ourselves. But there's always fallout on the other side of that. And, I know that with certain illnesses or the flu or whatever, that there are certain, lots of things that affect, um, how viruses or whatever travel. For example, I'm not going to talk too much about like virology or whatever, but we're there's always like flu season, there's like, colds, there's, all kinds of things that happen in the winter months. And part of me, I mean, so yeah, there's all of that other stuff, air currents and everything that's like involved in that. But there's also just the stress that we put ourselves under, that also has an effect on that. And, most of us, and probably all of us that are at least like on a social media platform on our computers or on our phones, right? But mostly all of us and a lot of modern humans aren't living in a unheated one room cabin in sub freezing temperatures eating potatoes for months, right? Like we have a pretty varied diet. We have ways to, heat our homes. We have warm clothes, so like we have all of those things going for us. We have indoor plumbing, right? And I mean, I'm just talking about us. I mean, there are people in the world that do not have any of that. And that's, I mean, that's a whole other thing, right? But I'm just saying that if you have access to clothes and a balanced diet and roof over your head that happens to be heated, and all of those things that we are so lucky to have as modern humans, that you are perhaps becoming more susceptible to getting sick or having a rundown immune system because you're freaking stressed out, right? So why not do things that are proactive to build up your immunity, to build up your energy stores? A is like not stressing yourself out. A is like honoring what the energies of this time really, really call us to do. B, it is like doing things like, and I'm not prescribing, right? But I'm just suggesting things that I do, like make some fire cider and take a shot of that every day. And if you all don't know what fire cider is fantastic. It is easy to make. There are recipes all over the internet. I have made it before and sold it at the store. But it is a vinegar base, an apple cider vinegar base, that you put all the good things, garlic, onion, turmeric, horseradish. You can put herbs in there, and you let it ferment and you let it steep for at least 30 days. You put cayenne in it as well. It's called fire cider, different like hot peppers, lemon. That's pretty much all the stuff that goes in it, but there are so many recipes out there. But something like that is so good for your body. You can cook with it, and it's not expensive to make. You can make a big batch of it and have that to get you and your family all the way through the winter. Get some freaking sunlight. Yeah, it's cold outside, but like sit outside, get your sunlight, get your vitamin D stores, all filled up. And still move, do yoga, like go for a brisk walk, do those things that are so simple and proactive to really help you enjoy the energies of the season and to kind of combat the stress and combat that feeling of, if you're feeling, that you're getting cabin fever, or to stave off illness as well. There's so many things that we can do to be proactive, and that's really how we should be approaching it. Our health, our mind, body, and spiritual health is being proactive instead of, oh, now I'm sick. Oh, now I'm run down. Oh, now I'm totally stressed out. What can I do to make myself feel better? There are things that maybe will kind of help alleviate symptoms or will help blow off a little bit of steam or whatever it is. But being proactive is really like, you just prevent it from happening, or really, really reduce your chances. I mean, that's the best bet. And it takes a little bit of planning. So, really now, this time now, get your fire cider started now. Start maybe introducing healthy, hearty, foods into your diet. If you've just been eating like a crap diet, eating fast food, or just not really not taking care of yourself or whatever it is, like, just start kind of rebuilding your body stores and just kind of like bolstering yourself to prepare for the sixth season and all of that. And of course, integrating, movement as well. And if you kind of get something like that solidified now, then when it's like really cold outside, you won't mind going, well, I'm going to go on my walk today, or I've got yoga class later. I'm totally just going to get out and do it because it's so good for me. Get those habits kind of started and established now. And definitely, like, don't wait till New Year, like then we're really in the throes of winter. And I think that that's why people's New Year's resolutions just have such a hard time sticking, because you're like, well, it's a new year, so new me, and I'm going to start. But that is the hardest time of year to really get anything like that really, really cemented and really going, right? So get it going now. Be proactive for sure. So in less than 2 weeks now, we will be having a new moon. Okay. And not all of you work with lunar energies, and that's fine. It's kind of an easier, shorter cycle to maybe work with, because it's something that we can observe and see in the sky. I know that the moon has been this beautiful, like, golden, it's like really close to, so it's been this huge shiny golden object in the sky since we had the full moon. And last night, I realized it looked like a potato. It was kind of a potato shape in size now. So we've definitely moved past the full moon, and we're in the waning moon energy. But if you do work with the lunar energies, you're kind of wanting to align with that, and you're looking for that kind of letting go energy. That is the time that we're in right now, because the energy of the moon is waning. It is flowing out, flowing away. And then we are moving into the new moon energy, which will be in about a little bit less than a week and a half, and that will be a fresh start energy. So I mentioned when I kind of started talking at the beginning of the energy update how I've been like cleaning out and organizing and kind of making space in my home. But to me, I felt like that was a lot of birthday month and eclipse energy that I was really feeling very strongly. But also to use the waning energy of the moon for letting go and releasing as like kind of an extra push is very helpful as well. So anyway, that's where I'm at. That's what I felt that this energy update kind of really what felt appropriate and right for me this week at this time. And for those of you that do ancestor work, that are kind of really in the zone with the veil being thin, of course, Halloween or Samhain was last night, but today is Day of the Dead, and then there's it's really several days of this kind of the actual veil, the actual membrane kind of between our physical plane and the beyond, that is very thin, you know. And so if you do ancestor work, or if you've maybe had some mementos, your pictures of your ancestors or things like that that you've kind of been working with over the last couple of days, um, the energy is still, we're still in that as well. And so if you're getting any messages, you're just, you know, feeling nostalgic, all of that is very, very normal for this time of year. And, you know, and for me, like, I love the fall, and I love Halloween. I love Samhain very much. And you know, the pumpkins and the black cats and, you know, all of those things. I love that. But, you know, for me, it's like, what is celebratory about Halloween is watching my kids dress up, and kind of the fun kind of merriment in that, or carving pumpkins, you know. But they're these are just kind of modern representations of things that were much more serious several hundred years ago. You know the story about jack-o'-lanterns and all of that. And if you don't, like, look it up. But I mean, I could explain it, but I'm not going to waste your time. I think most of you probably know the origins of, you know, the holiday. But it's not about just like getting candy, although that's really fun if you're a kid, or if you're a parent who's like, I'm stealing your you know, your trick-or-treating candy. But for me, I just like feel myself shifting into, yes, certain activities are fun, but it's a very serious time. It's a time that we meet with a lot of respect. I mean, when we're talking about loved ones who have passed on, our beloved pets, our ancestors, like, yeah, they can celebrate their life that they had, or whatever. It's not like we have to be like really, really sad per se, but there's such a respectful energy that I always feel around this time. Um, I, I tend to be, I mean, I get it. I understand why people maybe aren't paying attention to that, but I get kind of confused when it's just all about, you know, super creepy, super scary, or, um, you know, party, party, party. Because I mean, I'm guessing those are people's either conscious or subconscious or unconscious reactions to things like death and dying and endings, or the sadness, or things that you may not know or understand, and so you're scared of them. And so it's like combating that, like overcompensating for all of those things that are kind of underneath the surface. And I mean, I get, you know, that people deal with things in different ways, but it's kind of missing the point, you know, in a lot of ways. And I'm not making a judgment on like what anybody else does, or, you know, I'm saying that it's wrong. I'm just saying, like, to me, I feel very reverent this time of year. So, you know. So, anyway, hope you all have a good night. Still hope that you are enjoying this beautiful ancestor season that we are in. And make your fire cider. Make your fire cider starting now. And I will see you next week. All right. Thank you. Bye bye.